Richard Linklater is my favorite director, and his 1996 work Suburbia might just be my favorite of his. This movie is based upon a stage play of the same name by Eric Bogosian, and it tells the tale of a group of friends standing outside a convenience store all night and drinking. The world is shaken up when someone they went to high school with, who is now a successful rock star whose record has sold 90,000 units and is quickly on its way to gold status, comes by for the evening while passing through town. The film is a perfectly crafted piece that shows the power that nihilism, apathy, and a bad set of friends can have on people's lives. Nihilism, as defined by the Internet Encyclopedia of Philosophy, is the belief that all values are baseless and that nothing can be known or communicated. It's often associated with extreme pessimism and a radical skepticism that condemns existence. A true nihilist would believe in nothing, have no loyalties and no purpose, other than perhaps an impulse to destroy. This is the central philosophy of our protagonist and his friends, with their conflicts all taking place with those who do not share their viewpoint on the world and life. Meet Jeff.
My name is Jeff.
Different Jeff. Jeff, the protagonist of the film, is a man who considers himself a bit of an intellectual and a deep thinker, but is a man who does nothing. He lives at home with his parents, though has moved out into the garage and now lives in a tent, which we can assume he does to make it easier for him to chain smoke in perpetuity. He's essentially dropped out of college, though continues to take a singular class per semester and works a part-time job. He's not really working towards a degree, nor is he working toward a career. Jeff is doing essentially nothing at all. His life consists of BSing with his friends and arguing with his girlfriend, with their central conflict revolving around her desire to move to New York to pursue a career in art. She wants to do something with her life. Meanwhile, he has no ambition. This is a problem. While nihilism might produce an impulse to destroy, Jeff shows no major signs of this. He complains about the town, consumerism, and the hollowness of their modern lives, but is not actively engaged in any forms of destruction or violence. In this way, he varies greatly from his best friend, Tim. Tim is the former star quarterback of his high school, who joined the Air Force after graduation in an effort to see the world and expand his horizons. The problem is, he found nothing in this experience that provided him what he was looking for. Instead, he found himself miserable and far more jaded than what we can only assume his once idealistic teenage self would have imagined. He left the Air Force after chopping off part of his finger and getting an honorable discharge. Now that he's back, his only mission in life seems to be to drink every hour of the day, using his checks from the military to fund this and to cause destruction wherever he sees fit, which is usually aimed towards Nazir, the Pakistani owner of the Circle A, who Tim has decided, for whatever reason, is his enemy. Tim smashes glass bottles of Old Crow into the streets, spits racist, hateful rhetoric at Nazir and his wife, and makes fun of everything and everyone around him. He cares about nothing at all. Perhaps he cares about Jeff, as he does shove and threaten the rock star Pony after coming to the conclusion that he's attempting to sleep with Jeff's girlfriend, though it could be argued that he really only does this because it was a good excuse to get into some chaos. After all, later in the film, Tim tells Jeff a lie just to terrify him and ruin his evening. Some friend, right? Tim is an angry, hateful, nihilistic prick of a person, and the thing that makes him so dangerous is that he's well-read and shows clear signs of intelligence. He references Bukowski and Kerouac and also reads Pony's publicist Erica like a book within a few minutes of meeting her. Both Jeff and Tim have conflicts in the film. Jeff's only conflict outside of his conflict with himself and his inability to get out of his own way comes with his girlfriend Suze. While this conflict is technically centered around her desire to leave Burnfield and go to New York to pursue her art, it's more than that. It's the conflict that exists between two entirely different philosophies and worldviews. See, Jeff believes in nothing. He sees no purpose in going to New York, even if he hates Burnfield. When discussing the move, he says to her, "Why can't you make art here? What's wrong with here? Why is somewhere else better?" While this is a somewhat logical statement to make, one cannot trust the source, as it's evident through the film that the root of his reasoning is his fear to leave and his gutlessness, which Tim later alludes to. Tim conflicts with Pony for the same reasons. He mocks everything that Pony says and finds any excuse to put him down, even in the beginning of the film, where we have no real reason to believe Pony to be anything other than a nice guy. The fact is, the Pony did something that Tim couldn't do. He left, and he didn't come back. It's more than that, though. Pony successfully found a meaning in his life and a purpose that Tim, despite his theoretically best efforts, was never able to. Tim's best days were years ago when he was a quarterback, and it doesn't seem like any real good days are ahead of him. Tim also conflicts with Nazir over and over and over again. He cannot stand that Nazir owns the store, nor that he asks them to leave or takes issue with their presence. He feels he is entitled to this place to be and that Nazir has no right to it. It's hard to say exactly why this is outside of the xenophobic mindset that Tim shows himself to have throughout the film. Perhaps it's more than that, though. Perhaps at one point this store was owned by someone other than Nazir that allowed them to hang outside of it, and Tim misses those days because they were a part of the best days of his life. Maybe every time Nazir comes out to complain to Tim, it's a slap to the face of a man who has lost the only time in his life that he felt valuable or important. Or perhaps Tim is simply a racist, xenophobic asshole, and I am attempting to find a bigger meaning in his aggression towards Nazir than there is. It's genuinely hard to say. A good question to ask of our protagonist Jeff is why he continues to hang around with Tim. He will argue with him about his prejudiced remarks towards Nazir and looks as if he's caught in the middle of things every time, and yet here he is, day after day and night after night, making excuses for his friend and pretending it is somehow okay. Why? Why is he here? Why has he not done what we all as the audience want him to do and cut Tim from his life? This is where apathy comes into the picture. On the topic of apathy, WebMD states, apathy is when you lack motivation to do things or just don't care much about what's going on around you. Jeff is apathetic. He might take issue with what is going on around him, but ultimately will never take one step towards solving any of these issues. He simply doesn't have the willpower to make the necessary changes in his life. The reason Suburbia is such a great film is that it does a fantastic job of representing and showcasing the ways that apathy, nihilism, and a bad friend group can impact the lives of people, especially the young. By all accounts, Jeff is an intelligent, kind-hearted, and decent person, yet he does nothing with his life. He doesn't go to school or work a real job. He doesn't support his girlfriend's ambitions. He doesn't even remove himself from Tim, despite being constantly put into complicated and stressful situations as a result of him. He believes in nothing and cares about everything and nothing in equal measure. He is miserable yet stuck, dead yet still breathing, asleep at the wheel of a car he complains he's driving. Many young people go through what Jeff is going through. Everyone thinks they're going to graduate high school and go on to some great new adventure. Then, when this doesn't happen for one reason or another, and they find themselves one of the only people left, surrounded by those who also just happen to be around, they feel stuck, alienated, disenfranchised, and alone, regardless of the quantity of people technically in their nearby vicinity. They give in to apathy, nihilism, and find themselves sleepwalking through life while complaining about everything and doing nothing about it. Eric Bogosian and Richard Linklater managed to put this onto film in a way that few others have ever been able to. Go watch Suburbia.